Hey guys, welcome to Hughes History. We all know the 2018 midterm elections are approaching rapidly, so I thought, well, there's a better time than to turn back the hands of time and look at the three most influential midterm elections that I could think of. And then if you disagree, you can go leave yours in the comment below, because that's what we do in free societies. So what are we waiting for? Why don't we take a look at my three top most influential midterm elections? And we're gonna go do that with some Giddy Up for Learning right about now. So, occupying my number 3 spot, the 1946 midterm elections starring Harry Truman. Now, President Truman has only been in office for a little bit more than a year, taking over upon the death of FDR in April 1945. And boy, did he pick up a load. Not only does he have to deal with his Cold War, but he's also got a faltering economy, and he has the Democratic Party really splitting. And this is really why they're going to lose big time. Not only are the Republicans going to take control of the House and the Senate, picking up 54 House seats and picking up 11 Senate seats, if you could wrap your head around that one. And then the question becomes why. It can't just be the economy. It can't just be foreign policy. It's a little bit probably of, getting tired of the Democrats controlling everything since 1932. But the Democrats have their own internal problems. And we can see this by, even in some governorships. We have Governor Eugene Talamage, who wins his fourth term in Georgia as governor as a Dixiecrat. And this is really a transitional party between kind of the racists that were in the Democratic Party and, they're kind of moving into this Dixiecratic Party. And now later down the road, they're going to become Republicans. So not only are they falling off the Democratic Party bandwagon, but they're also repressing the African-American vote in the South because of Jim Crow, and that means they're repressing their own party's vote. So that's not going to bode very well for them. Now, not only do I love this election because it's so kind of influential in terms of post-World War II and the kind of dismantling of the Democrats, but there's also three names attached to this election that I think are pretty famous. Number one, we have the 1960 All-Stars coming up, with JFK winning his first congressional election in the House as a Democrat in Massachusetts, and we have Richard Nixon, the new face of this new Republican Party, who's taking down old liberals in California. They're both elected in 1946, and we also see the rise of Joseph McCarthy, and this kind of shows a different kind of Republican Party as well. He had defeated a progressive Republican in Bob La Follette, who's the son of Fighting Bob La Follette, and of course that whole McCarthy thing is going to be its own story all by itself. Now, the outcome of this isn't going to be great for the Republicans, because even though they win big, they're going to lose in 1948, primarily because Harry Truman had ideas in the Fair Deal, and they really just kind of roadblocked him, and Harry Truman used that with the slogan, the Do-Nothing Congress, that's going to let him squeak by Dewey in 1948. But that's a different story as well. So there it is, 1946 midterm election. It's a doozy. Let's look at what occupies my number 2 spot. So occupying my number 2 spot, we're going to go back to 1994, and we're going to test out how Bill Clinton is doing, and he's not doing too good in these midterms, that's for sure. And we should remember that historically, except for very few elections, 2002, the president's party always loses big, and Bill Clinton's going to lose big. Not only did he go in branding himself as a new Democrat and then doing some quite liberal things in his first term, he tried to kind of end the gays in the military. He put Hillary Clinton in charge of health care and kind of this universal health care, scared a lot of people, and the Republicans were kind of able to take advantage of that. They're going to win big. They're going to win 54 House seats. They're going to win 8 Senate seats, and that's going to allow them to control both the House and the Senate. It was so bad for the Democrats, even Democrats that had won, like Richard Shelby, who was still a Democratic Alabama senator. He's like, I don't want to be a Democrat anymore, and he became a Republican. Now, not only did they do really well in Congress, but really the Republicans were able to come up with a strategy to win at the local level. They won 12 governorships, 472 legislative seats, and they flipped 20 state legislatures. So they're really doing well strategically. Now, some of that might be due to gerrymandering in terms of the House wins, and now you're like, who's this Jerry man? And I'm going to tell you, go to the description, go watch that video down below. And it's also really the end of what was called kind of this conservative coalition between kind of blue dog Democrats in the North and Republicans that were willing to be moderate and kind of come together with those conservative Democrats to make public policy. We really are going to have kind of a hyper-partisan world after 1994 where compromise is going to be much more elusive than it was before. Now, it wasn't just Bill Clinton kind of not plotting, strategically very well. He also had problems like picking an attorney general, so it was a little bit of a mess in the beginning, and the Republicans took advantage of that. But they also had a message, and this was thanks to Newt Gingrich, who's going to be the new Speaker of the House. It was called the Contract with America, and really they took these Republican ideas and kind of rolled them into something that they thought was, a good sales item for the American people. And that's going to allow them to win, and it's also going to push Bill Clinton to the center. After 1994, we see Bill Clinton adopting some of the Contract with America, like welfare reform, and working with Newt Gingrich side by side to do some things. Of course, not everything that he wanted to. And of course, this is also going to lead eventually to the attempted dismantling of Bill Clinton himself, with, of course, all of the investigations, and eventually leading to the impeachment of Bill Clinton, even though he was found not guilty. Boy, good thing we went through all that. All right, that's number 2. It's the 1994 midterm elections. Why don't we switch gears and go to pole position spot number 1. So, number 1, we have a winner, at least in my book, because I do think in terms of political party history, it's probably the most important, and that's 1858. Not only because it's going to lead directly to the Civil War, but it's really the beginning of this new political party system of Democrats and Republicans that we know today. Now, of course, the Republican Party was only formed a few years before in 1854. They hadn't won much of anything, but they're going to win big in 1856. Now, part of that is due because of James Buchanan not being a very good president. Can I say that? I think he's been dead long enough where I can get away with that. But he really wasn't. He didn't know how to deal with the slavery issue very well. He upset a lot of Northerners when he supported the new Kansas constitutional approach of allowing slavery. And we also have Supreme Court decisions coming out like the Dred Scott decision. So part of it is Buchanan's kind of ineptness at being a president. Remember, he's a Democrat, but he's from Pennsylvania. And his same Democratic brothers down south are starting to call for secession. That's how serious this is. Now, there's also kind of a breakup in the Democratic Party down south. You have something called the Opposition Party. These are Democrats that didn't want to leave the Union. So as Democrats are worrying about their own problems down in the South, Republicans are really kind of forming this new coalition that's going to be able to allow them to take power in 1856. Now, they don't take over the Senate. The Senate is still being chosen by state legislatures, so it's not direct democracy. You can't vote in a new Senate, really, but you can vote in a new House. And Republicans are going to pick up 26 seats in that election. And remember, they didn't exist before 4 years ago. That's going to allow them with a coalition because they needed 4 more people to get the majority, and they're going to be able to unite with a couple Whigs and other minor parties to be able to choose the first Republican Speaker of the House, William Pennington. That's the guy. If it's ever on Trivial Pursuit, now you know the answer. But of course, the effect of this election is really, at the end of the day, when the dust settles, a lot of Southerners who were for secession now see these Republicans in control of Congress, and they're going to be worried silly that they're going to be affecting their institution of slavery and what they see as a states' rights issue. So really, 1858 is the great hurrah before the Civil War and the formation of our new political party system. That's why I chose it to be number 1. Now, I know there's other important midterm elections, so why don't you put your favorite down below, write a little bit about it. You can disagree with me, you can agree with me, you could just be like first, or hi mom, I don't care. And if you haven't subscribed to Hip Hughes History, make sure you do that too, because that's what people do on the YouTubes and the internet and such. Follow me at Hip Hughes on Twitter. We're putting out teacher tips and all kinds of weird things that'll make you laugh, make you smile, make you think about life. How about that? All right, my friends, you know what I'm going to say, because I say it at the end of every lecture I've ever done. Where attention goes, energy flows, and we'll see you, my learning friends, next time that you press my buttons.